Grand Rising. This is the Straight Talk Show Network and the Straight Talk Morning Show. Good morning to everybody, to the family. How is everybody? Also, my name is Andre Hill, and I'm your host, and our co-host is the chairman of Enlightened Ones and the Aboriginal Native State, Terrence. How you doing this morning, sir?
Grand Rising, everyone. I'm doing great. It's a beautiful week, kind of busy, but hey, it's football season too, so I'm sitting on top of the world.
Beautiful week, kind of busy. Well, I know it's been a real busy week. I'm handling 5 or 10 things right now, so my mind is all over the place. All right, so our co-host and engineer Andre Hill Jr., how you doing this morning?
I'm all right. I am all right. Peace and love. Family, peace and love.
All right, so this show is a continuation of these Caucasian women that are metaphysical, supernatural conscious, and they are demonstrating their ability to channel with advanced civilizations. And it's a real thing, just like a radio station. It broadcasts through the air, and you have the right channel, you can pick up the message. And so a lot of humans, the chairman brother was on. We had him on a show not too long ago, and he experiences. I think there are different humans that with different frequency components that can pick up on the channeling, and they try their best to interpret. These women are basically channeling with these advanced civilizations. Like I said, I know it's real because I channel all the time. To me, it's not like an effort. It's just keep quiet and you can hear. You can link into it at all times. Sometimes you just have to meditate and in a quiet place, and all the downloads will start happening. I think what they are trying to project is making contact with advanced civilizations. And one of the things that we have to understand was on. We had them on the show. These beings, they've always been communicating with us, and as described in our book, Lucifer's Revenge, the Lucifer agenda is they don't want you to know about their other supreme beings, their other advanced civilizations, because they want to keep this entire planet enslaved, or as the next topic, the topic after this one later on in the show, prisons. Keeping most of the people, the inhabitants on the earth, in prison mentally, spiritually, and psychologically. So they really don't want you to know about. And not only that, they've been cutting deals with these malevolent extraterrestrial races. And when I say malevolent, these different civilizations, they took the wrong path in their development, or they went to the left instead of going to the right, And once you go down that rabbit hole, you get caught up into using low frequency energy just to survive, when you could have corrected it, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. These beings, they come here and they understand the positive and negative components of a species, and they play on it just for the sake of survival. And at some point, they have to find a way to turn things around and start preparing for their next incarnation. Chairman, you tell us, your experience with channeling. You've seen it firsthand with your brother.
Well, with him, I don't know how to interpret what he's saying, but I know it's not him. it's a spirit coming through him. And there are probably, I've heard about 4 different spirits come through him. It sort of puzzles me. I can't say it frightens me because they're not doing any physical harm to him and they're not doing any mental harm. But it's so weird to hear your brother come out of this bag with all these different voices, you know. But from my experience of looking at different podcasts, and I see all these different channelers that come on, and they all seem to have a sweet spirit and they all seem to be really positive. They tell you some things that could be frightening, but they tell it to you in a positive way. And that's what I enjoy about them. You know, they're here to help us. They're universal because some of them go back and they talk about things that have happened in other solar systems and other galaxies, you know. So it's really something, you know. If you haven't experienced it, you know, you listen to a couple of them and then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right, so my son gets downloads all the time, and he's, reveals some supernatural experiences he's had in the dream state. What do you think about this channel, man? Before we set this up again.
What do I think about channeling in general?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think different people have their neural network, let's say, wired a certain way, and just like you say, that works the same. It works the same way as different emitters to receivers, and as far as radios to radio transmitters. And just like you say, certain people can pick up on different frequencies based on not only the structure of their neural network, but also the frequency of their heart and soul. Right. Especially the frequency of the heart and soul.
Yes.
So, yeah, I've gotten. Well, let me start here. As an astrologer, every time I do a consultation, an astrological consultation for somebody, I tell them in the beginning, we're going to do this quote unquote reading, and at this point, I'm going to be the vessel here for the information that I'm going to convey to you. It's not necessarily going to be me. I tell them straight up. Essentially, you're going to be telling me, or in other words, your higher self is going to tell me the information that you need to know. It's pretty much what I tell them. And just like you say, it's real because I'll be taking a look at the numbers. Let's say the universal numbers, which is astrology, but then the language that I need to convey then is interpreted through the numbers. So yeah, it's a high level of communication, right? And even so much so to where I think the evolutionary path that humanity is on, we're going to start to see more and more of that communication style or ability become more prevalent.
So, I think that this is all a part of the evolutionary process. And I don't think that the ability to channel is restricted to one sex, one culture, one religion. I think people are channeling information all the time. The question is the discernment of whether it's good or evil and what the intent of the channel is, like you were saying. So, we're going to go ahead and play the rest of the tape as I described in our post. You know, I think there was one particular woman, I was under the impression that she gave a little bit more detail in terms of receiving downloads or receiving transmissions from these advanced civilizations, the ones that are benevolent, that want us to survive this evolutionary process, this next step. They want us to make the right decision that a lot of other civilizations didn't make, and they went down the dark path that, you know, that led them there through the influence of low frequency entities like what we described in our book, Lucifer's Revenge. You know, so without further ado, and then in the second half, we're going to talk about is Earth a prison planet? You know, there are people here serving time. They did some horrendous things somewhere else in the universe, and they were brought here because of the low technology, and they can't escape until they work through those spiritual imperfections. So that's a topic that we want to talk about and show the correlation between our book Lucifer's Revenge and how can some of those people get parole from planet Earth, the ones that's doing time here. So go ahead and set that video up. The young lady that I think you had mentioned to me,
Karen Bell.
Yeah.
You want to know an example of some channeling? You know, I didn't ask you before we started this video what to title the video. But you know what I titled it?
What?
It's Earth and Prison Planet.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's the question.
All right, let's get started. Let's get started at the beginning.
To this interaction, and we appreciate.
Hang on, guys. I'm sorry, family. Start from the jump. Let's do it over.
Your participation with this interaction. And we know that you have questions for us on this day, and we appreciate those questions. However, just for a moment or two, we have a topic that we wish to bring to your awareness, which is the topic of integration. Integration. And what we mean by integration is the integration of the higher self, the soul self, the emanation of source that you are, and the human construct, the mental construct, and the physiology, the body, the mind body. So there's this integration that is taking place between you, the soul of who you are, the essence of who you are, the authentic self, and the human aspect of who you are. And what's true is that you are in this age where this integration is becoming more apparent. But with that integration comes a degree of chaos, both individually and collectively. And so what we first wish for you to know is that if you are experiencing chaos on any level within your personal life, or you're looking out and you're seeing the chaos in the collective, we want you to know that that chaos is not an accident. There is purpose to it. And chaos is a prelude to your transformation. And the transformation that is taking place, again, is this integration. With this integration, what's happening on the energetic level is there is a shifting of frequencies, if you will. And the shifting of frequencies is taking place both individually and collectively, and in terms of your actual planet, Mother Earth. In terms of this sentient being, there is a shifting of frequencies. And so as this shift takes place, what happens is that the old frequencies that everything in your world was based upon start to crumble. Everything starts to fall away that is not of the higher frequency. And that's the chaos that we speak of. The other aspect to this unfoldment is that there are forces within your realm that are wanting to delay or avoid change, if you will, because this would mean that they have to surrender control, and they are not comfortable with that. And so you have this push-pull of the higher frequencies coming in, that higher light coming in and seeking to transform, mixed with or blended with this lower frequency energy that is seeking to maintain control or stop change. And that is the period or the phase of evolution that you are in at this current moment in time. Now, what's true is that many of you listening, many of you who find this content interesting, are what we would call star seeds, which is a description or a term for beings from other realms, other worlds, other planes of existence, which have already been through these types of evolutionary processes and which already hold and have stabilized that higher frequency. And so there are beings coming in, incarnating, seeking to help by bringing that energy, the energy of their home world with them into this reality and seeking to stabilize that higher frequency in service to the whole. So that is a brief summary of what is unfolding on your planet at this time. And it also explains the reason for this increase in starseed beings incarnating on your planet, but also these various ways of connecting with different star races that are off planet, telepathically, psychically, what have you. And so let us take your questions and see if we can't make even more sense of this particular topic.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and being open to my questions. So that was a lovely message. And along those lines, I am curious, first and foremost, about who you are and if you have been going through the same process of evolution on the Andromedas, that we are going through now, and sort of if you could say something about how long this will take. I mean, we're having wars, we're having so many horrible things happening, and from one perspective, it seems impossible that we are shifting consciousness and raising our frequencies when we are watching the news. And I know that from one perspective, that is one reality that you can sort of choose to, I don't know, believe in or live in, and we could also choose to live in another reality. But part of me feels that it's still going on, even though I would like to step into another reality. So to sum up the question, if you could tell us a little bit about if you have been going through this before yourself on your planet, and how that went, so sort of to hear if you have any more advice on how to handle this.
We'd be happy to speak to that, but first we wish to address this notion of watching the news, and we would suggest that you not watch the news or not take in certain media broadcasts that lower your frequency. What's true is that if you are watching the news or any media, even if it's alternative media, and you sense this lowering of your frequency, this lowering of your vibration, then what's true is that unfortunately your focus is on the old reality, and you are in a way anchoring that through your focus upon it. And we're not saying don't have your head, we're not saying have your head in the sand and ignore things that are happening. We are just saying to pay attention to the ratio of where you place your attention. So for example, if you were placing 70% of your attention on the old reality and 30% on the new reality, then what's true is that you are more engaged with the old reality. So our first recommendation would be pay attention to the ratios where you are placing your attention and seek to place more attention on the new reality. What's true is that the new reality is vibrational at this time. It hasn't solidified or anchored itself truly within this physical plane. And so it is more difficult to place your attention on something that is more ethereal or etheric, right? And so we understand the difficulty. But if you're going to engage in those broadcasts, those news broadcasts or media broadcasts, or anything that you feel when you tune in and when you're watching it, you feel that sense of dissonance, we would say, well, place a limit on how much of your attention you're willing to give to those broadcasts, because the way you are of service in the way that you intended to be when you incarnated is by placing your attention on the new reality, right? And so that would be the first thing we would say to you. The second thing we would say in terms of our particular collective and our unfoldment and our evolution is that you really can't compare our evolution to yours, in the sense that we do not hold physicality. We are what we would describe as light beings, and there is not even a planet that we are affiliated with. So in that sense of the word, there is no real comparison between our collective and yours, right? In terms of comparison, you could compare your spiritual self or your higher self, that aspect of who you are, which is the true part of who you are, would be more conducive to comparing to our beingness in terms of our collective being more light beings. However, we don't have to have gone through the evolution in order to assist you at this time. Number one. And number two is that there are many different beings from many different civilizations that have been through similar circumstances to what you have been through, and they are interacting with you at this time as well. It's as if all of the beings that have access to you are collecting all around you at this time to be of service to you in different ways. And so we are being in service to you by beaming a higher frequency in your direction through various channels and in various ways. So we're beaming this vibration to you, and also through the words that are spoken through Karen and other mediums, other channels that help you see things differently, that shift your perspective. The one thing that is holding your reality in sort of this lower frequency state, the main contributing factor to that is your mental construct, your mind, the way that you perceive yourself, the way you perceive the world, the way that you perceive, quote unquote, others. These perceptions, these old beliefs are outdated, and they need to be upgraded in order to be in alignment with this higher frequency. And so that is how we are being of assistance, is by helping you to see a different way of perceiving yourselves, of perceiving reality, one that is more in alignment with source energy and one that is on this higher frequency bandwidth, if you will. And let us just give you an example of that. One of the most dominant individual false beliefs on your planet at this time has to do with worthiness. Whether the belief is I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not deserving, or I'm not lovable, all of those mental constructs, those false beliefs are active in your mind, in your mental body, right? And what's true is that those thought forms are not true. They are not in harmony. They are not in alignment with your higher perspective. And so we come along and we offer a different perspective. What if you are lovable? What if you are a work of art? What if you are an emanation of source energy? What if all of this not good enough, these belief systems, what if all of that is just nonsense, right? And so by shifting the way that you think about yourself, you shift your vibration, you shift your energy. And as each individual does that, the collective begins to rise, right? And that is how these energetic shifts are made. It happens on an individual level through the shifting of your perception.
I've heard in other interviews with other people that I've interviewed about the Pleiadians that some say that they are our parents, our cosmic parents, and that they are protecting us. And some are saying that they are here among us and are visiting us. Some are saying that we're not ready to be visited by them. I'm curious about your perspective on that, if they are among us and if they can shape shift, and if they are or have been seeding us, or many questions there, I get that, if they are actually us in the future, so that we are really connected to them on a deeper level compared to maybe other species out there.
So yes, we are connected to them, and they have lent their genetic material to our species. So in a way, they are parents, and they are here to support us. So there are a lot of different levels to the question that you asked, because are they here visiting us in the physical level? Some of the third and fifth dimensional Pleiadians, yes, they are among us because they look very similar to us. So they can kind of get away by just passing as human, or
Oh, really?
for lack of a better way of putting it, they can throw up a glamour. Now, not all Pleiadians.
Okay, so before we go on to this particular woman, the young lady that we just left brought out some valid points. She talked about the light beings being non-physical, and you know, and they are assisting us. And it may appear to most humans as being angels or miracles, but these are beings that have evolved to a point they no longer desire to exist on the physical plane. But what has happened, a lot of these negative, well, low frequency ETs that need to enslave our planet, they're taking advantage of this period of time where we're vulnerable to create religions to make you think that this is some mystical God in the sky that's doing these things for you. And I think that, I respond to a lot of people that there is a you a million years from now that's very advanced, that is urging you on to get to where they are, or you are at that particular point in time. I know that might sound a little complicated, but somewhere in the universe, in another time frame, there's a you, and you're looking back on your primitive state that you're in right now, urging you will overcome, and you will get through these things. And then the woman asked the question, how long will this take? Because a lot of people are running out of patience. We're still doing crazy stuff. And if we keep going at this trajectory, we're going to destroy ourselves. So this is a very critical time, I think, where, once again, these Caucasian women, they have benefited from the low frequency illusion of white supremacy. So what are they doing? Because I've approached Caucasian women, and when I approach them from an intellectual or metaphysical perspective, they kind of lock down as to say, well, I appreciate you because of your beautiful skin or your sexual prowess, but you're talking way over my head now, and they become insecure. Or it changes the whole game when I approach them from that perspective. And especially if I ask them to get involved, if you want to make a difference on this planet, if you want to change the frequency, why don't you get involved with some metaphysical melanated people that, and get behind them, because your culture has benefited from their demise. And that goes all the way back to the Lucifer revenge agenda, where Lucifer, who was once a melanated being, is the one that created white supremacy, which created a system to create the Caucasian biological entities that needed him in order to exist on the surface. And let me repeat that. You needed the Lucifer white supremacy agenda in order for you to level the playing field to exist on the surface. So if you want to change the frequency on this planet, if you want to help us to evolve, you may have benefited and may have millions of so-called Luciferian money, and try to divert that to a real system like the one we're working on that will make a change and change in the frequency. Hey, Chairman, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, they're speaking a lot on, how things should be. You know, like they say, they're here to really help us. You know, that's why they're speaking on universal levels, because that's where we're headed. You know, once a spirit, always a spirit. You just go through metamorphosis and different evolutionary changes. So those that you said earlier about going into the future, you know, that's us in the future. But this spirit that we have right now is just inhabiting this body here. But how we understand is through the spirit. You know, that's forever, eternal, forever. That's the way I see it.
All right, so the young lady also advising,
Aliens are humanoid. They don't all.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
the young lady is also advising us to focus on the new reality. And, you know, in my language, adjust to the paradigm shift. So in order for us to initiate this paradigm shift, you got to start focusing and visualizing the new reality. Like, for example, the next week, you know, one of the things, topics I wanted to bring up on the show, we should be, our transportation mode should be electromagnetic projection engines, and where we should be floating around in cars just like in the Jetsons. You know, we have to visualize that and manifest it, you know, by implementing those formulas. I know the formulas, you know, that you need to establish for you to travel around the city in an electromagnetic propulsion system. You know, now some people say, well, it'll upset the grid. Well, the grid needs to be changed too. It's outdated with those electric wires. All that's antiquated. All of it is antiquated. So you have to visualize, we're going to move all those electric wires, you know, change the electrical system, change the vehicles that we maneuver around, and stop focusing on whether it's this color, this gender, and all that. All of those are divisive measures. They're being used to manipulate us, to keep us so caught up in fighting among each other than to focus on creating this reality as to where we would like to be. You know, going to work 40 hours a week for 65, now 72 years, just to get a little Pentland Social Security check. That's some madness. Also, so once again, all these are outdated formulas, outdated technology, hand-me-down technology. Worthiness, that part, every human being on this planet has something to offer. The system, the Luciferian system that we refer to in our book, that set up all these educational systems and all of these sort of things, if you can't remember the lies that were told about history, or if you can't come up with the formulas for these antiquated science technology, you know, and your soul really is rejecting this stuff. That's why you can't remember, because it's not making sense. It's antiquated. So then you can't get a certification that you are an idiot in all these sciences. And so, you know, that puts you in a state of mind. I'm not worthy to live. I'm not worthy of having a relationship, a balanced relationship. You know, every human on this planet, no matter what your physical structure, what you have something to offer to the balance of humanity. Go ahead and play the rest of this here, and then we'll move on.
All look like us. There are a lot of reptilians, positive reptilians that are in the Pleiades star system. There are also beings who look like lions, felines. So it's a very diverse system. But what we tend to think of and people report connecting with are the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Nordics. Now, in terms of we're not ready to see them, generally speaking, what the guides will tell me is that for beings to kind of just show up at a mass level, we're not ready for that because there are too many people who are holding fear, and that's going to be counterproductive. They're here to help us integrate fear, to release it, to let go of judgment. And they're kind of bringing us along, helping to support us so that we can let go of enough of that so that when they do show up, we won't react negatively. It won't generate more fear. So we're almost there. And, beings who are of a higher vibrational nature want to support us and bring us along and help raise us to a higher frequency rather than create and generate more fear, which is why they have been holding back and they're not showing up in a direct way for the collective. And also it interferes in a way with our development. It will absolutely change the game and the way that we perceive reality when these beings actually do show up. So it's affording us the opportunity to work and explore the frequency of this reality, the way that we currently perceive it, to its fullest before it dramatically alters and shifts, which I think will probably be coming sometime within the next 5 years. But at an individual level, there are more and more people who are having experiences because those people are ready for it. But at a collective level, we're not there yet.
All right. So let me circle back. Did you say in 5 years that we might be ready?
Yes.
Oh, to meet these beings.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Things are running so fast, I feel.
Yes. They always said, 25 years ago, they said time will feel like it's speeding up. You'll feel like your 24-hour day is eventually about 8 hours long. And I thought, what in the world does that feel like? And now today I'm like, okay, I know what it is because I get up and I feel like there are a million things to do. I don't get through it all and it's time to go to bed. Yeah. So, and they say that's because as we increase our frequency, our perception of time compresses. So in this game, we're playing in a game of duality. And in order to come down in frequency, we had to forget who and what we are. And instead of immediately manifesting some of our lower fears and our lower thoughts, we are experiencing time. So there's a lag in what we manifest because otherwise we'd be constantly going through the death cycle and having to start over. And so time was created to give us that illusion so that we could alter our frequency, we could increase it so that when the actual experience of that fear came by, we weren't necessarily in resonance with it and it wasn't pulling us out of the game. So the lower the frequency, the slower it feels like we're moving through time. And this is at a planetary level, not necessarily at the individual level, because we can manipulate time based on our frequency. We can move through time very easily. It's just a marker for an experience. Time doesn't really exist. And so they said when you get up higher in frequency, the acceleration and the compression of time is exponential. So it'll go up very, very quickly until you get up to the 5th dimensional level and you cross that dimensional barrier and then you're out of time. So you can see that past, present, and future are one.
So Chairman, they are talking about time and they're talking about 5 years before we are ready as a species. I agree, and I disagree. I think we control the narrative on that. We have a gathering of critical thinkers, and if you're interested, if you are a critical thinker, if you are a chosen one or you a star child, email my son. You got your email posted, man?
Not on this one.
Okay. Well, email him. You can find him. We're on Facebook, Andre Hill Sr. and Andre Hill Jr. and send him a message. But one of the things that I do agree about is humans are so reluctant, that we're going through so many changes of dealing with this reality. And the low frequency beings realize that. That's why they turn up the amps on the hamster wheel. You got, we talked about this over and over again. You got to work 2 and 3 jobs now just to survive, unless you go and petition your soul, in a demonic way. And you don't have time to attend meetings or start working on an ulterior reality, So I think that in a few years, yes, there will be a drastic change, but we control the narrative. So what's going to happen to our 401ks? I suggest you take those funds and reinvest into a new reality, because in 5 years, if this reality, or when it's going to change, when this reality change and paper money or digital money is no longer relevant, you wasted 65 years investing in something that's going to just go poof, So are we having an effect on the stock market right now? Yes, we are. Are we advising humans to get out of this so-called security, economic security, which is an illusion? There's no such thing as economic security. It's an illusion to make you drive and work against people, step on people's backs and their neck in order to get ahead. That's how you're being manipulated. Chairman, I know you can expand on that.
What I wanted to expand on is when they were talking about us not being ready. There are many of us that are ready, more than ready. Take it, for instance, a certain thing that happened, I don't know, probably about maybe 15, 20 years ago with the International Space Station. They were testing this tether, and this tether was 1 mile in diameter, and it was 12 miles long. And they had it attached to the International Space Station. But it was so humongous, it broke loose, and there was nothing they could do about it. Only thing they could do is watch it until it got so far away. Then they got their binoculars out and they watched it, and it got so far away. And then all of a sudden, you started seeing all these little flying saucers come around it and surround it. And to me, I was thinking that the extraterrestrials were saying, now, what the hell are these humans doing now? And some of these ships were like 1 mile in diameter because they measured it by the measurement of the tether. Now, if people don't believe me, they can Google it and it'll tell you about that tether and tell you the year and everything else when it broke loose. But, people got to wake up. They got enough spaceships out there that could evacuate this whole planet, because Earth is a small planet, very small. But they got us so bamboozled and confused that we don't realize the powers that we do have. But everything is focused on Earth right now, trying to see what are we going to do, because they cannot interfere. They can interfere if something's going to happen that's going to affect them, but as long as it don't affect them, they're watching this experiment here on Earth on what we do and how we're going to evolve and get out of this trick bag that we've been put into.
It's definitely a trick bag. Hey, well, let's hey, Junior, you got any other comments on those 2 young ladies before we move on to the next topic?
No, go ahead.
All right, so I remember one of the young guy that we met in our travels in the metaphysical realm. And he basically told me, he said, Earth is a prison planet. And I said, well, yeah, I can see that, because, but my perception of it is it's a low frequency development planet, so if you want to call that a prison planet, because of the amount of technology that's made available to us, then yeah, there's certain souls that are contained here to work out their imperfections, you know, and so how long, what you know, what kind of sentences are we serving? You know, is it you know, based on your sex? Is it based on your skin color? Are these reflections of why you are locked into this reality and can't seem to escape? So you are in a mental, a spiritual, and psychological and physical prison, you know. And so one of the things that we try to do in our book, Lucifer's Revenge, is, you know, the statement I made when I posted on Facebook that we, you know, the Lucifer's Revenge will serve as a parole release manual. How can you be paroled from this reality of suffering for those that, you know, that are, and if you live on the physical form in this time period, there's a lot of suffering going on. We look at the wars, like the young lady said, you know, we're still fighting and over petty stuff of thinking that you're gonna own this land. You don't own no land on planet Earth. You're here for an experience. So all of those groups, and especially the Europeans that's claiming that that's their land in Israel, BS. They don't own crap. You know, all of this gentrification going on in these big inner cities, you know, you getting caught up in this illusion that the real estate game is hot and you're gonna make bundles of money, and meanwhile you're participating and aiding and abetting and stimulating a hamster wheel so that you can convert or force souls to submit to a low frequency, negative, Luciferian devil type system, you know, and that's what we are experiencing. So if you are caught up in this game, in that reality, the reality, as the young lady said, is antiquated. It's an old system. It's old ways. And you're not going to prosper spiritually by getting involved with that. You have to come to a conscious point and say, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. I saw a video of a young lady, a young melanated, beautiful young lady, and she had come to a conclusion about, you know, the reality of our situations. The foods are poisoned, the medicines are poisoned, the work that we're doing is, you know, the different jobs or industries are contaminating our earth. You know, we got to pay for water, we got to pay for everything. And eventually you're gonna have to pay for air. You do pay for air, you have to pay your electric bill for the air conditioner if you want to breathe and stay out the heat. So, you know, a lot of these young souls are just coming to a conclusion. I don't want to do this anymore, you know, and that's why, because so many of us are fearful to change this reality. We're still holding on. Well, you got to hold on to so you can get your Social Security, and there's some countries, you know, that don't even have Social Security system. They're still continuing to survive off the grid. But Chairman, do you think that Earth is a prison planet?
It's a double-edged sword, you know, like some people are thriving and surviving and some people aren't. And those that aren't surviving that well, it's like hell. Hell can be worse than the prison. You can have the ability to go, but you're suffering. You know, at least in prison, you're getting 3 square meals a day, you know. So as far as a hell or a heaven, it's both. Depends on the situation that you're in. It could be better. It don't have to be a prison, because there are many ways that we can come together and create this heavenly environment on earth. It's so many ways, you know, but we're just stuck in the one way because of guns being pointed at us and saying, you got to do this and you got to do that. Where's our real freedom at? Free will. Yeah, you got free will, but other people got free will, but they got more gun power and they can make you do what they want you to do. So whether it's a prison or not, it depends on how you're looking at it. If I'm Shaq or Shaquille O'Neal, hell no, this ain't no prison planet. He's sitting on top of the world. He's richer than 95% of the people that are on this planet. you know. But you ask a little poor boy in the ghetto that don't get breakfast every morning, the only time he get breakfast is when they go to school. Is it a prison? It's like a prison to him.
Mm. Hey, so let's get to co-host and engineer from your perspective, your generation, man. What do you see this as a prison planet?
All right, so the question is kind of double layered here, right? So is it a prison planet based on exterior forces or local forces? That's kind of like the question, right? So in other words, has it been a prison planet since the beginning, or has it become a prison planet as relatively recent, let's say in the last 8,000 years? It's kind of like what we're getting at here. My answer is no. It hasn't always been. Has always seemed to be a prison planet, because that's what it is. Seems to be a prison planet. Seems like it. No, especially based on the cosmological information that we have, we know there's seasons on this planet. So yeah, certain seasons can seem like it's a prison. And 8,000 years, 10,000 years seems like a long time, especially with our current life expectancy rate. Us living, anywhere from 70 to 100 years max. 10,000 years seems like a long time, but that's a blink, as less than a blink of an eye in the grand scheme of time on this planet, right? So, and we've been on this planet for some time, calculating time, and then very intricately calculating cycles and what type of frequency was going to come with each cycle. So let's say over the last 10,000 years, we've been in a planetary winter season. So yeah, it can seem by frequency, yeah, it can seem like a prison planet, because just like the Caucasian woman was saying in that show, I give them credit for that. The vibration has been low, just like it is in the wintertime, just like it is in a winter season in any geographic location on the planet. And so what happens during these planetary winter seasons is you have the planetary frequency low enough, which allows parasitic entities to set up structures, social structures, civilization structures, economic structures, religious structures that would mentally and spiritually imprison the population for a season, only for a season though. With the overall universal purpose of helping, or for lack of a better word, helping humanity at large evolve. If you look at in our book, we put the 25,920 year cosmic scale in the book, which gives you a kind of a view of this winter season versus the summer season versus the spring seasons. And you get a gist of how short the winter season is, or how minute the winter season is in comparison and or in balance to the summer season, or the golden ages, right? Or the golden ages. So to answer your question, does my generation see it as a prison planet right now based on the current multi-tier regime? Yeah, because like you say, we got to pay for everything that's supposed to be natural. But we've been conditioned to have to pay for everything that's supposed to be natural. Because even if we didn't have to pay for it, we would have to do some kind of work or exert some kind of energy to produce it in the first place. I.e., if we wanted power or electricity, if we didn't pay for it, then we have to learn how to actually construct or manufacture the mechanisms to produce it. Food as well, water as well, housing as well, transportation, whatever it is. But we were never taught how to do it, from the beginning. In other words, we spent 12 years in grade school and learning all kind of crap. and I can just say, even knocking on 40 years old, the majority of the information that I learned in 1 through 12th grade, I either don't utilize it or don't remember it in life.
What a waste.
Right? Most things that I memorize is something, if it has something to do with mathematics or science, maybe. And I guess English, because I speak it every day. Right? But you could have taught me that just by me talking to you every day. Because that's how a lot of kids do it. A lot of children don't go to school to learn language. They talk to their parents. They talk to their family. And that's how they learn other languages. They may learn 2 or 3 languages just sitting there talking to their family. Right? So, long story short, we've been conditioned to be so dependent on a parasitic system that it seems like a prison planet to us. But what I do see is this. Much of my generation is wanting out. They don't like the hamster wheel. They realize it's a hamster wheel and they want to get off of it. And a lot of them are very keen, or let's say in support of the self-sustainable microcosm concept.
All right, so I understand what you're saying, that because of the time frame, and he explains this clearly in the book Lucifer's Revenge, that there are seasons that this planet will go through, and we are in a low frequency season of the winter time, and we're coming out of it now. And so that's why the planet was vulnerable to these types of systems. But the reason I made the statement that the Lucifer Revenge book was served as a manual, a parole release manual, because it teaches you the true history of how the planet came about, how the universe operates, and how to stand accountable for your own actions. And it gives you a true history, not the nonsense that these Europeans created everything, ruled everything. That's nonsense. That was created by, now hear me very clearly, that was created by a low frequency extraterrestrial who we refer to as Lucifer, who was once a black man. And he created these systems to enslave you. He even created the system for the Caucasian people to come from beneath the surface to the surface, and you had to rely on his system in order to survive. Even as simple as having sun cream to protect you, because the species you came from did not have a pineal gland to produce melanin to protect you, And so for you to buy and hold on to that culture of white supremacy is a trap and a trick to only control your soul. So what the book is explaining to you, the true history of how all this came about. And that gives you the ability to say, I'm going to be held accountable for my own action. Most of you, especially you Caucasian people, were black people in a previous life and you lost that privilege. You can regain that privilege in this life with the truth. You know, study this book, Lucifer's Revenge. It'll give you a true outline of how all this came about and how you may have lost your privilege. There are Black people that's going to lose their privilege of having these melanated bodies because they bought into the Luciferian agenda. So in the next life, they're coming back as a lower form. And if you keep playing with the laws of karma, it will keep reversing you all the way back. If you're going to stay hard-headed all your damn life, it'll take you all the way back to the amoeba until you can learn to understand, to respect the forces of the universe. It's a very simple formula. But, you know, that Luciferian agenda has made it so complicated. So to all of you Caucasian people that are holding on to that illusion, well, I'm doing good with this white supremacy illusion. You are jeopardizing your soul for the next 10 incarnations. For all you melanated people that said, don't hate the player, hate the game, and want to continue to play along with this illusion of enslavement and stepping on people or being a gatekeeper or boule so that you can get special privileges, you will lose your privilege to those beautiful melanated bodies. And you can feel it. I don't even have to tell you. You can feel it when you walk into those empty houses and with all those material possessions. It's worthless. You know. So this book will give you the truth. It outlines how all this came about from a true fashion, from a true reality. You know, my son channeled it, I channeled it. We get input from the chairman. You know, he gave us inspiration with his book, God's Seed and God's Child. And, you know, and so you're gonna be held accountable. Just because you don't think somebody's watching, they're watching. The universe takes account of every action. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And to you young Black men that want to feel that that gun is going to make you a man, listen, young brothers, I know my generation let you down. And I'm trying my best. I am spending every essence of what I have left to change that, to build institutions. A lot of your parents and grandparents and great-grandparents is our age, me and the chairman, they done gave over. They still believe in the European fake Christianity. And they won't, they done gave over. They won't face that reality that we need to build systems and institutions for you. But if you take a gun and go out and murder somebody, we can't help you. The laws of karma gonna whoop your ass. You're gonna come back in the next life, you're gonna be murdered. Over and over again until you get it, to respect what life is. You don't have the authority to end somebody's life. You don't have that authority. So, you know, the laws of karma are very strict, but they're fair. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Hey, Chairman, you got anything to add on to that?
Oh, I think we said enough today. If they don't get it, Lord, have mercy.
Hey, wait a minute, Chairman.
Yes.
I saw this new movie called Deliverance with Andra Day. And she played that part. She's a singer. She's a beautiful woman. Glenn Close, Monique, and Omar Epps. I'm promoting this movie. I'm not getting a dime out of this. I don't do things for money anymore. I mean, money, Lucifer's money help, but I don't. That's not my motivation. I wonder about Monique, she's been ostracized from the entertainment business because she speaks her mind. I think she took this. She needed the money. There's nothing wrong with that. But she would not sign off. She didn't endorse the Jesus Christ part. But she played a good role, as this social worker. She's a very good actress.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Glenn Close, she played this part of this Caucasian woman who had a black child. Now, pay close attention to what I'm about to say. When the young man was going through the progressions of different spirits possessing his body, Glenn Close was playing the part of his grandmother, and she had just died. I know I'm giving the movie away. I don't care. You go watch it anyway. And so she had just died. So she came back in one of the forms through this young man, because all these so-called demons was coming out of her. So when she came back through him, she had this subterranean bipedal reptilian form. And this is the same form of reptilian being that I believe that when Lucifer came to earth, he incarnated into one, and he then came to the surface and impregnated Lilith. That's in our book, The Second Coming. But the form that she took on was, from my perspective, what those beings looked like. They were pale, they had sharp teeth, and they had mutated to the subterranean world where they will appear to be hideous to us. But they had to come to the surface, and they had to get the mitochondrial DNA from a black woman, from an Aboriginal woman, in order to live on the surface. And that's why they come out pink. They're not white, they come out pink because their body is trying to simulate the pineal gland. So if you want to see, or look up Phil Snyder. Phil Snyder was working on a team that went beneath the surface and encountered one of these beings. And they fired a plasma beam and burned off his fingers. So he used to go on tour telling people about that. Look him up, Phil Snyder. That the CIA, FBI, whoever, they were suspected and murdering this man. But he encountered that image that they made Glenn Close. That was a message to humanity. That's what those beings look like, And another weird thing was Andra Day. The young man name was Andre, and the demon was Andre. All these coincidences, and the story that was told about Lucifer as angels, it has a correlation. So we may do a show on that one and break down all the symbolism. But it was a good movie, and but a lot of people are gonna need therapy after watching it. So we might need to do a show to provide you with some psychological relief from the imaging. Because anytime somehow or another, I have a feeling that the Catholic Church helped write the narrative on this, and if they're involved, there's some demonic stuff going on. I can say these things. I'm exempt from this planet. If you mess with me, you might as well go on and put a bullet to your head. Hey, this has been the Straight Talk Morning Show on the Straight Talk Network. Go ahead and take us out of here, engineer.
Peace and love, family. We'll see y'all next week.
Peace out.
Conversation, peace.